All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. This is Viewpoint Ministries, and of course, on this platform today, we're going to be having a conversation in about a very short conversation, which will be on the topic role of worship leader. Role of worship leader. You go to church every Sunday, or in whichever way, or you attend church online. We want to know what are the roles of worship leader, and none other person to help us digest this topic other than Mrs. Busayo Adubakari. Thank you for joining us on Viewpoint Ministries podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so the topic for you, we know is a really very short time, is what are the roles of worship leader? And you yourself is one, so I'm sure we're going to be getting some good nugget out of this today. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So, I actually, I found this, I think, very well formed sentence or a little description about the role of a worship leader. Is to build the body of Christ and draw people into worshiping God through carefully chosen music and lyrics. And the praise and worship leader, you have the responsibility to make sure that there's a good flow in the service, a good flow of the Spirit of God in the service. You're responsible to make sure that the mood is good. You're kind of like you're setting the pace, you're setting the mood for everything else that comes after the service. So, when just thinking about just the choir itself, as a leader, as a praise and worship leader, you're responsible for the choir, you're responsible for the instrumentalist. So at that point, everybody is really following you, in addition to you leading everybody else into the presence of God. So and then because of the role that the role of the praise and worship leader is so important, the person also needs to create a craft or learn how to not minister just to the spirit need or the spiritual need of the people, but also learn how to use music to lift people up. Because a lot of people come into church. Church is really like a clinic, it's a hospital. And I mean, like thinking about David and Saul, remember what David did for Saul. Like every time he was chosen to play the harp, and then we are told that every time he starts playing the harp, the evil spirits will leave Saul and all that. So that just shows us the importance of the role of the praise and worship leader. So we are leading people into the presence of God. We are lifting people up, spiritually and every other area of their lives. Also, we are there to also challenge people. You've probably seen sometimes where somebody leading worship will kind of like try to encourage people, to sing, to worship God. That's also part of it, and also to comfort. All of this we have to, again, like I said, a lot of people bring different things into the presence of God. So we have to be able to do all of that thing. Another thing is to be sensitive to what God is doing, to be sensitive to the move of God. I realized that worshiping God, leading people into the presence of God, let me put it this way, many times worship leaders or worship ministers also walk in the prophetic. They also, so because you have to be able to. There's a pastor said this one time, to be able to journey in the spirit. Now that's a whole new topic for another thing. But to be able to journey in the spirit, to feel what God is doing, because miracles do happen during praise and worship. Salvation happens during praise and worship. Healing happens during praise and worship. And I believe that as a worship leader, these things should be part of what we want God to achieve when we lead people into His presence. Because why do we lead people into the presence of God? Is it for them to just go there and stare at the face of God? No, we're we're leading people into God's presence so that their lives and our lives can be changed, can be touched, so that our burdens can be lifted. So that we can. So God can impact, we can be impacted and not leave the presence of God the way that we, came into that presence.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for doing justice to that. And I believe that everyone that is either listening to these over the podcast, or maybe they will watch this on our YouTube as well. At one point, they will appreciate the fact that you point out the roles for us. And so let nobody, be confused. And sometimes we take things for granted. The fact that somebody is leading worship, anything can happen in any part of the service. So we should not wait till the pastor start making, prophesy or praying, or anything can happen when songs are going on. People can hear songs and they can be saved. They can receive salvation, like you pointed out. They can receive any miracle. People can receive their child. They can receive anything while worshiping. And so I do think it is very important for the worship leader to, be able to, like you said, lead people, lift people, and also challenge people. Wow, that was very, very powerful. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope next time you will be joining us again.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to this opportunity again.
All right, great. Stay with us in the studio. And to everybody, thank you for sticking with us today. And of course, you already know, my name is Solomon Oluwabi. And until next time you get to hear from us, stay blessed and remain blessed. Have a wonderful week, everyone.